Garfield, it's a comic strip that needs no introduction. So because of that, I won't go into depth in explaining what Garfield is. If you somehow don't know, look it up yourself. You probably also know about The Garfield Show from 2009. It ran for 5 seasons and ended in 2016. With something as popular as Garfield, fanworks are almost destined to exist. If you're reading this, I'm sure you're familiar with classic internet flash animations. That is where the subject of this post comes in. I remember seeing a flash animation that was related to Garfield a few years ago, and I remember it scaring the shit out of me when I first saw it. Not because of its graphic contents, but because of what I think it was meant to communicate. Many years ago, when I was around 14, I recalled coming across a Garfield animation after searching Garfield in the search bar. I cannot remember the uploader's username, but I remember the video itself was titled Good Riddance. The video was seemingly some kind of fan episode for the Garfield show. This first became evident, as the first thing presented in the video was just the intro for the Garfield show. The title card was just Good Riddance on a green backdrop. None of the characters were present, and there was no audio. It opened with Garfield waking up from his cat bed, from the sound of an alarm clock, and stepping out of it. Something interesting that stood out to me was that the art style was Garfield and Friends style, although it was a The Garfield Show animation. The house they were in was the one from The Garfield Show, but the art style was Garfield and Friends. The second very strange thing I noticed was that Garfield was wearing a red tie. I don't know if this has to do with the true motive behind the animation's creation or not. Garfield looked towards the calendar and saw that it was a Monday. He says his famous line and sludges his way to the living room. He first sits at the TV and turns it on. His enjoyment is quickly stopped when a certain somebody walks in. A bright yellow cat who doesn't seem to be any currently existing Garfield character. I was confused on who this was, and I thought that maybe the animator had incorporated an OC of theirs. My question was quickly answered. Oh, it's you, Nermal. And here I thought I was allowed to watch TV in peace. That was supposed to be Nermal? Then why was he yellow instead of gray? There was nothing else off about him, just the random color swap. But still, I was confused when I first saw that. Oh, and by this post, I've attached a sketch of what Garfield and Nermal looked like in this animation.
Just came around to remind you of how much better I am than you.
Not like I'd expect anything else from you. Can't you do or say anything other than that?
Yep, but I like doing this more.
Garfield responds to this via cartoonishly grabbing Nermal by the tail and throwing him into another room. Garfield walks into the kitchen and grabs a lasagna from the fridge, before sitting back down on the couch in front of the TV with it. John walks into frame and speaks. Hey, Garfield! The light bulb in the kitchen died out, so I'm going to the store to get a new one. I'll be gone for a bit. Okay, then. See you around. John walks out the door. Garfield dons a smirk. And we cut to him in the kitchen, assembling a comically large lasagna. Odie would walk in, be very surprised, and marvel at the mountain of lasagna before walking out of the room. Right before he was about to chow down on said lasagna, Nermal walked back in.
You doing something?
Garfield sighed and turned to Nermal. Yes. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like you to leave.
No!
Nermal replied with a smile. Not like I'd expect any different from you, Garfield scoffed. A bit of a pause as Garfield was getting ready to devour the lasagna monolith before him. And Nermal spoke again. Do you mind? You're interrupting my very important task.
Oh, I know.
Nermal again replied. Nermal spoke once more.
Look how much cuter I am than you. And better in every other way. Does that make you jealous? Huh? 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 Huh?
You want me to throw you out again? Garfield answered back.
Point taken. Just don't come crying back to me when John puts you in the pound.
Nermal said in a sing-songy voice. You need to learn to shut up, Nermal. It's a useful skill. Garfield directed his gaze back to the lasagna and immediately began to cartoonishly devour it, comically fast. When he got to the last layer, Nermal simply took it and was holding it away from Garfield to spite him.
Oh, what's this I've got here? This yours, big guy?
You're gonna give that back right now!
No can do, fella.
That belongs to me. Hand that back to me or I'll send you straight to Abu Dhabi. This would go on for a long while before Garfield would walk away. That is, before running back and comically chucking Nermal out of the window and retrieving his lasagna. Odie walks up, eyeing Garfield's lasagna, before Garfield cartoonishly kicks him out of the way. He later devours it, as originally intended, before going back to the television. Before he could even switch to another channel, Nermal appears behind the couch, which startled Garfield. You again! Garfield angrily yelled. Garfield then turned off the TV and proceeded to go to his bed, before he notices that Nermal is on it. Garfield gets frustrated by this and reacts accordingly. Get out of my bed.
Sorry, fella. You know the rules. I can do anything I'd like to.
You don't own the house, Nermal.
Right. And John does. Oh, wait. John isn't here. I can enjoy this all I want.
That's it. Garfield then grabs Nermal and proceeds to throw him off of his bed, as he later gets on it to sleep. Nermal then brings in an alarm clock as it rings, which causes Garfield to grab and hammer and smash the clock to pieces. Don't you have someone else to annoy? Or something better to do for that matter?
Nope.
Garfield gets out. Why, you little... John walks through the door with the new light bulb for the kitchen. Odie immediately runs up to excitedly greet him. Garfield reacts. "Oh, thank God, I'm free! Take that, sucker!" The yellow Nermal stares angrily, his eyebrows furrowed into a grimace with a frown. Garfield responded cockily. "Aw, what's the matter? Mad over me taking your precious spot? Well, too bad. It was mine to begin with. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going back to the television." We cut to Garfield at the TV, relieved that the whole fiasco was over. John is seen, and he speaks. "All right, everyone. I'm going to my room to do some very important work. I'll be back down in a jiff." Garfield simply brushes it off as unimportant stuff that doesn't affect him, and he adjusts his red tie.
Hey there! I noticed you were enjoying yourself again.
"Are you here to inconvenience me again?"
I'm just here to say some things, that's all,"
Nermal replied. "Well, get it over with, so I don't have to talk to you." Nermal began to talk fairly quickly.
Alright, so some weeks ago I was outside and I saw this guy with this really weird looking hat, and then
A time skip occurs. A bit later in the conversation.
oh, I almost forgot about that sticker I found on the ground. It looked really weird and it was colorful and
Another time skip. Each time skip, Garfield continuously looks more and more bored, sometimes falling asleep before waking himself up again.
And, oh my, he would not stop talking about it. It was really annoying, and
"Like you," Garfield said in a groggy voice. "Nothing," Garfield replied back.
okay, now, where was I? Oh yeah, and he had this shirt with a face on it, and
Time skip.
then, when I least expected it, the vase was there again.
Garfield looked really displeased, before he looked up, as if he had an idea. He walked over to Nermal, who had no idea he was there because he was too busy yammering to notice, and lifted him up, before placing him in the basement, and walking off with Nermal still yapping. Garfield sits back down on the couch to watch TV, and we cut back to Nermal.
Which is my favorite episodes of Friends so far. I don't get why that other one is so...
He noticed he was placed in the basement.
Well, that's just rude. I didn't even get to the part about the elephant I saw at the zoo.
We cut back to a satisfied Garfield, sitting on the couch.
Hey! What makes you think you could just do that?
Probably the fact I didn't want to hear your annoying voice grating on my ears any longer, if I'm being honest. Now, shoo. The show's getting good. Cut to Garfield watching a cooking show that talks about the ingredients for a lasagna. "Oh yeah, baby. That's good stuff." Nermal looks confused and a little mad.
You actually like this trash?
Garfield, insulted, looks at Nermal. Yeah. Can't I just enjoy what I enjoy without being pestered and annoyed for 1 second? Jeez.
No, it's just, like, how do you enjoy this? I mean, there isn't really any entertainment value, there's no...
Yeah, well, there is to me, asshole. Nermal pauses for a bit.
Oh, so that's how you're gonna act, is it?
Yeah, it is. And you want to know why I'm acting like this?
It's 'cause you're a fucking pretentious cunt!
Garfield yelled back. Normal snapped back.
You know, maybe I should, I don't know, break that new light bulb John's got so I can harass you more. How would you like that, ugly?
You wouldn't dare. Normal then walks to the fridge and grabs the light bulb before climbing on top of one of the cabinets. Don't try it. I'm warning you.
Or what, huh?
Or I'll beat you to a pulp.
Sure you will.
Normal sarcastically replies. As he says this, he lifts it above her head.
Don't throw that, you...
Normal suddenly chucks it to the floor with high velocity, shattering it into pieces with a loud crash. Garfield winces, recoils back with his eyes closed, and slowly opens them to see that Normal had shattered the light bulb on the floor.
What the hell is wrong with you? I don't know. You tell me, fatso. You motherfucker! Oh!
John walks in and spots the broken light bulb.
Oh my god, again?
John sighs. Alright, I guess I'm gonna have to go get another light bulb. Be right back.
No, wait, John, Normal, he was the one who...
John already has walked out of the door before Garfield could finish his sentence. Garfield slowly turns to Normal, angrily. Why? Why would you do that?
To annoy you, of course.
Oh, trust me, you did that. Don't even fucking walk next to me, you walking bag of dog shit! Garfield angrily storms away and sits back on the couch. He has his head in his hands, and his tie is slightly wrinkled. He has bags drawn under his eyes. He sluggishly and tiredly reaches for the remote, but accidentally knocks it over. He lets out a groan of pure anger before going to pick it up. The TV has swapped from the previous lasagna cooking show into a wrestling match. Garfield picks the remote up and flicks back to the channel he wants to watch. The channels that pass him by are all inherently violent, or at least something that could be used for violence in some way. Boxing, footage of a street fight, chainsaws and axes, crash test dummy videos, etc. Vampires and zombies biting people. Literally just footage of Silence of the Lambs where Hannibal is being interviewed, stuff like that. When he gets to his preferred lasagna channel, he sets the remote on the arm of the couch before putting his head back in his hands. He can be heard heavily breathing. He looks up and speaks. At least I know that there's somebody that can comfort me in these trying times. Garfield walks to his cat bed. Pookie... Wait. Where's Pookie? He had quickly noticed his teddy bear wasn't there. Normal pops up again.
Hey! Did you know that—
Shut the fuck up! Shut up! Right now. Fuck off. Normal cockily responded.
What's got you yelling, Jabba the—
What's wrong with me is that you're still alive. Do me a favor and fucking die, you piece of shit! Normal immediately dons an evil smirk before letting out very clearly fake crying. Garfield yells at him to stop. Oh my fucking god. I know you're faking! Jesus fuck! Stop trying to gain sympathy points, you stupid motherfucker! I hate you. Even if those were real tears, which they aren't, I wouldn't at all care! Get the fuck out of my face right now! Nermal stops the fake tears and angrily turns to Garfield.
And what in the world makes you think I'll do that?
Garfield responds. 'Cause Pookie isn't here right now. And I think you don't want to piss me off more than I am right now. Get the fuck out of my face. Nermal doesn't react how you'd expect him to. In fact, he immediately gets nervous. Oh! Well then, I'll just leave you to it. Leave! You stupid fuck! Nermal runs away to the kitchen and nervously eyes Garfield as he looks for his teddy bear, almost as if Nermal had something to do with it. Goofy cartoon montage of Garfield searching every room in the house for Pookie, but not knowing where he is. He ends up going to the kitchen where Nermal is. I really can't stress enough how much I do not want to talk to you at all. But do you by any chance know where Pookie is?
Nope. Did you check the attic, though?
Oh, I actually haven't. I'll go look.
Nope, nothing to see there. No reason to go up to the attic. No siree.
Nermal immediately snapped back. What the fuck? Alright, well, whenever you're done that, let me know. I'll be looking for Pookie in the attic.
No!
Nermal said, grabbing onto Garfield and tugging at him, attempting to convince him not to check the attic. What the hell has gotten into you? Get the hell out of my way! Garfield pushes Nermal aside and makes his way to the attic. Nermal repeatedly tries to stop him.
Why would you ever want to go up there? I mean, there's nothing promising up there.
Go harass somebody else, fuckhead.
I'm just saying, there's nothing up there at all. Nothing in the slightest. You won't find Pookie up there, I promise you. Stop!
Garfield grabs Nermal by the tail and throws him away. Garfield continues to go to the attic. Once he gets there, he notices a cardboard sign in the center of the room, labeled Nermal's Collection, written in crayon, covered in glitter and silly string. What the... Nermal's Collection? Garfield continues looking around, only to see various taped up boxes drawn on with crayon, all with Nermal's Collection, do not touch, or similar phrases written over them. Garfield goes to open one and sees Pookie. Pookie? Why is...
Stop! Oh. You already looked inside,
Nermal said, nervously laughing at the last bit. Nermal, why the fuck did you steal Pookie? Oh, hold on. Are these... Garfield rummages around the box before pointing out the other objects in there. Are those batteries? Silverware? One of John's socks! Nermal reacted.
I can explain.
Explain what? That you've been stealing shit from me and everyone else? He continues rummaging. That yo-yo I lost? One of Odie's dog What the fuck?
It's not that bad.
You're stealing shit! Some of this has been lost for a really long time. What the hell, man? Nermal continued to sweat and nervously grin. Garfield opened the other boxes, throwing out objects like an entire phone, pens, plates, a sock, etc. What? John's paperwork? Why do you have this? How does this interest you at all? Why are you stealing his money? The keys to the fucking car? It was shiny! What the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you like this? I don't know! Nermal got an idea, illustrated by a light bulb appearing over his head. More fake crying. What? What? Oh no! Oh my fucking god. This again! I'm not fucking stupid! I know you're faking that! Nermal switches back up immediately, crossing his arms and looking away from Garfield with an angered expression. Lucky guess. You always do this! You son of a bitch! Nermal angrily yelled back. What did I do? Fucking steal shit? From literally everybody in the house? What the fuck? Why are you like this? The door opens. John is home with a new light bulb. Garfield clenches his fist in rage, and Nermal crawls out of the attic. Garfield follows suit. John! Nermal's been stealing! Save that for later. I have lots of important cartoonist work to do. No! John! You have to— John is already walking away to his room. Garfield angrily turns to Nermal. You're an annoying little fucker. You know that? Garfield walks away with Pookie and back to the TV. Nermal walks to where Garfield was. Before he can do anything, Garfield reacts. Nermal walks to where Garfield was. Before he can do anything, Garfield reacts. No! We're not doing this again! Get the fuck away from me!
Nope. I just wanted to make sure you understand just how much cuter I am than you.
Fuck off, Nermal! Nermal would speak up again.
You don't understand, man! People love me. I would do anything if it makes you unhappy. I could do tricks, play dead, the whole 9 yards. I could do anything in the world, and they'll forgive me just because of how cute I am. But look at you. You think anybody would see you as that? Ugly, fat, stupid, lazy.
You want to know something, Nermal? Something about me you might have not realized.
Spout off, fat ass. Nobody'll care.
Garfield begins to speak. I keep trying to send you to Abu Dhabi every day, and yet you just keep coming back for more. I do this not just for you to stop annoying me, but I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't like that. No. I send you there for you to die, in hopes that you're made an example by the other stray cats and horribly mutilated, to show that being soft isn't appreciated. In hopes that you wander out into the streets and are hit by a car. In hopes you starve to death. In hopes a homeless man kills you and eats you. At least in that last one, your death would cause some form of good. Unlike your shitty little life.
happens immediately or happens after some days of being in Abu Dhabi, whether it's swift and painless or slow and grueling, I'll be happy, as long as you're dead. It's not surprising that I hate you, that I despise you. You know that very well. But it's very clear you don't know just how much I hate you. Garfield continued. Vitriol and hate are both coursing through my veins every time I'm met with the displeasure of being forced to share the same planet as you. You lack an understanding of just how much thick, viscous animosity plagues my blood, but I'm sure you do now. If I woke up normal, Garfield continued, if I woke up tomorrow and found you were dead, that somebody had broken in, thrashed the place, and left you a lifeless, bloody mess on the floor, all I would care about is my possessions, and the place I live in being messed with. I would lack any, and I mean any form of sympathy for the yellow piece of shit that always drilled into my psyche for his own amusement. Do me a favor and end yourself today, tonight, tomorrow, next week, as soon as possible. Die. I only hope your obituary insinuates just how awful you are. Though, you don't deserve an obituary, do you? No, not even a funeral. Not even a proper burial. Nermal would obviously become offended by this. Well, fuck you, shithead! You can go to hell for all I care! You gluttonous, inconsiderate fucking slob! Garfield responded. Inconsiderate? That's not right. No, not right at all. Garfield spoke. I'm a considerate person. I care about other people, and there are certain people I would lay my life down for. You are the only exception. You are the only person here I don't care about. The only one whose life I do not value or care about. He gestures toward himself and Nermal. Garfield continued. Sure, John is chasing a pitiful cartoonist job that leads nowhere. And Odie is, well, Odie. I at least value them as people. And then there's you. The only one in this entire fucking household I want 6 feet under. Nermal wasn't having any of this. Fuck you, asshole! Go eat a dick! Garfield spoke once more. Good to know we're on the mutual basis of hate. Now get the fuck away from me before I shatter you into a million pieces! Oh, I'll get away from you, all right. In fact, I think I'll occupy myself with something else. Nermal says, as if he has some kind of devious plot cooking up. Garfield is none the wiser, and is just happy to see that he doesn't have to deal with Nermal. We see Nermal running up to the attic, where his collection of kleptomaniac-level stolen items are. He rummages through his boxes, and takes out 3 sheets of John's paperwork with a smile. Perfect! He walks out to the kitchen, with the paperwork in hand, and
stands there, before clearing his throat. Then he starts screaming.
Hey, Garfield! Looky here!
Annoyed, he looks over to Nermal to see he's holding paperwork John has.
Did you just steal that? No, it was the previous stuff. And you want to know what I'm gonna do with it?
Garfield immediately catches on to Nermal's plot. He screams through gritted teeth.
Oh, you motherfucker! Who'll they believe, Garfield? The lazy, apathetic slob, or the cute, innocent-looking one? I wonder! Normal, don't you fucking dare!
Nermal tears all 3 of the papers and continuously rips the pieces to shreds. He then grabs the light bulb and shatters it once more. Nermal runs off to John's room and scratches at the door. Garfield sprints after him, and they push each other aside. John, confused, opens the door.
What's wrong? What happened?
They both sloppily tell their own stories over each other, while gesturing with their hands towards the other.
Just go to where the problem is. I don't have the time to deal with this.
Garfield and Nermal both race to the kitchen. Nermal purposefully trips Garfield, leading to him falling down the stairs. It takes a bit for him to get back up, but he's back to running. Nermal, however, has already gone to the scene of the crime. Nermal does a bunch of cute expressions in front of the destroyed work, and dramatically points at Garfield before letting out more crocodile tears.
He destroyed all of that work of yours. I tried to stop him, but he just wouldn't listen. What? Boo-hoo!
Garfield was staring in utter disbelief, his eye twitching uncontrollably as he watched what Nermal was doing. John angrily turned to Garfield.
Garfield? Is that true? What? No! He destroyed that and blamed it on me!
Cut to Nermal doing more innocent-looking expressions. Odie walks in, sees the mess, makes a shocked facial expression, and leaves.
Shame on you, Garfield. I expect better from you. What? What the hell? It wasn't me! It was him! You're not gonna believe him, right? Right? No lasagna for 4 days. But no lasagna! I didn't do anything! This is entirely unfair. He's the one who stole that. Go to the attic. He's stolen more things. He is the reason that silverware has been going missing!
John turns to Nermal. Nermal, no stealing. Nermal nodded his head up and down. Nermal made another cutesy pose and expression. When John looked away, Nermal's face turned into that of a malicious smirk, looking at Garfield.
What? That's all he gets? I get no lasagna for 4 days, and he gets a mild slap on the wrist for thievery! I wouldn't have done that if you were watching me.
I didn't know it was wrong, Nermal said, clearly bullshitting as he was using the same fake cry tone as before.
What the hell is wrong with you?
You... Garfield clenched his fist in rage and stormed away to his bed. A time card popped up, reading, "Late at night." The background was entirely black, the red text being the only thing on screen. The next scene shows Garfield waking up in the middle of the night to the smell of lasagna. He walks over like a Looney Tunes character being drawn to the smell of a freshly baked pie on a windowsill. When he gets to the source of the scent, he sees Nermal has made a lasagna. Disappointed, he speaks.
And just what do you think you're doing up this late, Nermal?
Nermal walks over to the trash can, holding the lasagna in hand.
Would be a shame if something happened to this.
Nermal?
What are you doing with that?
He drops it and kicks the trash can back to where it originally was.
Oops.
Garfield stares. He doesn't even move. Just then, Odie walks in. Garfield turns to Odie and approaches him. He picks Odie up, locks him in the basement, and turns back to Nermal.
What the hell are you doing?
I'm sparing him the sight of what I'm gonna do to you, Nermal.
Garfield's tie was now more wrinkled than ever, and he had extreme level eye bags. A toothy grin would slowly dawn on his face. There was no background music, just the dialogue and the sounds of their footsteps. Nermal, not believing this is going to be any different, acts cocky.
Ooh, what are you gonna do, fatso? Send me to Abu Dhabi again? Throw me? What you gonna do, huh? What you gonna do?
Garfield rushes the yellow Nermal and grabs him by the tail before throwing him upwards towards the roof. He runs over and delivers a fierce scratch to Nermal's face.
Oh, is that all you got? Huh? Huh? Huh?
The sound of a knife being pulled out would play. Garfield would switch the lights on in the kitchen.
No, actually. It isn't.
Garfield said as his smirk grew wider. Nermal immediately switches up his demeanor.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Put the knife down, big guy. Let's just leave this all behind us, okay? No need to fight about this.
Remember yesterday? What I told you yesterday? Well, it's clear Abu Dhabi isn't a viable option anymore. Maybe I should take things into my own hands.
No, wait! I'm sorry! Just put that down! And I won't annoy you anymore! I promise! Can't we just talk this out?
Garfield spoke again.
Honestly, I wish we could. I truly do. But if we were to talk this out, you'd only go back to being a pain in my ass, wouldn't you? Just a get out of jail free card for you, right? I'm tired, Nermal. Very tired. Tired of all the shit you have forced me through!
Garfield was screaming through gritted teeth again. Normal slowly backed away.
No, no, please! Oh, God, no! Just put the knife down, please! That won't save you this time, you fuck! Oh, God, help! Help me!
Who's gonna do that, Normal? Odie's locked in the basement, and John has already gone to the store for that new light bulb. And the only other person here than you is me.
Running won't do shit for you, Normal! Yelling for help won't do shit for you! Fighting back won't do shit for you! There's nothing you can do!
Normal runs to the door, but Garfield grabs him by the wrist. Normal is still screaming.
For the love of God! Help me! Anybody! Help!
Garfield covers Normal's mouth and punches him in the face so hard he falls over. Garfield hunches over the collapsed Normal, who is still begging for his life. Garfield punches Normal in the face a couple of times. The punches were incredibly violent, and on the last two, Garfield's fist appeared back, soaked in blood. Normal continued screaming for help, but those cries were quickly silenced when Garfield grabbed hold of his throat. Garfield picked the knife back up and began violently stabbing Normal over and over. With every stab, more and more blood would splatter on his face, tie, and the knife. His smile would keep widening. Normal's screams would slowly descend into gurgles as he choked on his own blood. These gurgles would eventually cease, as Garfield would not stop raising and plunging the knife into what was left of Normal. We get a cut to the yellow Normal's corpse. His eyes were rolled to the back of his head, and blood was pouring out of his open mouth. The stab wounds were everywhere. Normal's limbs, chest, stomach, face, throat, and eyes. A giant pool of blood was situated under Normal. We cut back to Garfield, and his expression slightly changes. His eyebrows shift to that of joy or relief. He then began to hyperventilate, as drool would slowly drip out of his mouth. Cut back to Normal's lifeless body, then back to the drooling Garfield. There was this distorted and slowed version of the show's main theme song playing in the background. Garfield picks the knife back up and plunges it straight into Normal, before proceeding to slice him wide open. The hyperventilating and drooling wouldn't stop. He'd hold on the side of his head before putting it back down. As if Normal being graphically stabbed to death and cut open wasn't enough, it got worse. Garfield began to ceaselessly devour Normal's flesh, stuffing Normal's organs into his face, scarfing them down. The theme in the back would progressively get louder and more distorted, and bass boosted, until the scene abruptly changed. The shot is entirely silent, with the only background noise being the sound of an ongoing fan. The door would open, and we would see John walk into the house. "All right, everyone, I'm home." John would not get an answer. The lights to the kitchen were off, and so were the lights to the living room. The only light in the house from where he stood was a lamp in the corner corner of the living room. He couldn't see anything from the kitchen. Hello? Garfield? Odie? Normal? John would hear the sound of Odie barking and pawing at the door. Odie? Why are you down there? Hang on, I'll open the door for you. John would walk over to the kitchen and turn on the light. The light flickered back on, and what had happened in the previous scene was revealed to John. The eviscerated, eaten corpse of Nermal became visible. John would widen his eyes in shock upon seeing the corpse. He would instinctively vomit and would grab onto the side of the wall. His breaths became shaky and quick, and his pupils were shaking. His hand grabs onto his mouth and he backs off. Odie manages to bust the door down and walk into the kitchen, only to see what's left of Nermal. He'd immediately stop in his tracks and blankly stare at the corpse in horror. John runs over to the telephone to call 911, and Odie runs to his side instinctually.
911, what's your emergency?
Hello. I just found my cat disemboweled on my floor, and my dog locked in the basement. I think somebody's broken into my house. Please come soon.
All right, name and address.
Okay. My name's John Arbuckle, and my address is... A voice is heard from behind the two. No witnesses. John whips his head around to look behind him, and the camera cuts to what he's seeing. Garfield has blood staining his hands and red tie. His teeth are so drenched in blood that they are entirely crimson red. His whole face is drenched in Nermal's blood, and the blood is dripping down to the rest of his body. He's still wielding the knife. What's even worse isn't just the fact he's drenched in blood, but what happened to his face. His mouth was open in an unnatural way, and his eyes were almost rolled to the back of his head. The bottoms of his eyeballs were stained in black ichor. His head is violently shaking and twitching from left to right. You can very clearly hear his very loud breathing. No music to accompany this. Now, we get to the part that warranted the existence of this post. Without this next part, this would have just been your average edgy Newgrounds animation. And this post would have just been, does anybody else remember this Garfield animation? And nothing more. But the video did not end there. The video abruptly cuts to a black screen with no audio. After about a few seconds, an image appeared in the middle of the screen. An image of a blonde woman, smiling towards the camera, holding up a peace sign. Then, a little bit of white text faded in under the image. That explained everything for me, before the video finally came to a close. She died how she lived, whining. And that was Good Riddance, a rewrite of Garfield's Horrible Joy, written by Hayden the Toe Jammer and Dipping Sauce. Review time. I didn't like that. It had its positives, it had its good things about it, its concepts that worked within the narrative, but at the same time, there was a whole abundance of problems that just made the story frustrating to sit through. For starters, there are many instances within this story that are just needlessly padded out. Events such as the first act of the story and Garfield's monologue to Nermal just drag on and on and on. And what sucks about it is that these can easily be condensed. For example, instead of having Garfield and Nermal repeatedly bicker at each other until the climax, you could have them do it twice or so before having some sort of montage play out, like maybe involving their numerous fights, or you could half Garfield's monologue about his hatred, such as like maybe take out some parts that could come off as redundant or are redundant in general, such as the if I woke up normal portion. I also spotted a continuity error near the middle, being normal, like barking at Garfield not to go down to the basement after asking if he went down to the basement to find Pookie. But the worst part of this story, the biggest problem with it, is the last act, the ending. It is terrible for a number of reasons. The first one being, let's talk about the fact that the whole last straw leading to Garfield committing this visceral murder scene is having his lasagna thrown away. I get that in this story, Garfield and Nermal are cartoony caricaturizations of real people, but if you're gonna write something as real as a murder scene, don't do that. The scene where Nermal has his guts eaten by Garfield is so forced, and there is no reason for him to do that. I guess Garfield turns into this monster thing for some reason when John comes home, mouth unnaturally wide, bleeding black for some if this is supposed to be an instinctual thing, then this is not how you do it. And then we get to the last line of the story. She died how she lived, whining. There are two problems with that. First off, what does that even mean? She died bitching? How do you die bitching? Second, it fundamentally does not work with the murder scene. Because, again, she died how she lived, whining. Nermal was not whining during the murder scene. She was screaming, crying, begging for someone to help her. If she was whining, she would be complaining sulkily the entire time. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. However, even after saying all of that, the story does have its pros. The overall flow and the grammar, the structuring was good. I didn't really have any problems with that. I like how all of the events are just kind of a caricature. Well, not all of the events. Most of the events are kind of just a caricaturization of how this animator feels about a girl in his life, along with the very specific things that Nermal does throughout, sort of pointing back to this girl. Like, it has you wondering what she could possibly be doing behind the scenes before she was actually murdered. By the end of the story, you kind of come to an understanding that most of the characters here are guilty.
For example, Garfield is a needlessly spiteful, rageful, crazy piece of shit, while Nermal is a manipulative, whiny, bitchy moron. And that's the whole point. Like I said, it's caricaturization. One thing I do like about the last portion of the story is the little tidbit of humanization from Garfield. He technically stuck with what he said, and he was considerate enough to take Odie into another room so he doesn't have to see the horror unfold. The only reason he had to kill Odie and John in the end was because he didn't want to get sent to jail, pretty much. Though, if he really valued them as people, like he said in the monologue, then I don't think he would go out of his way to kill them. It just ends up feeling kind of hypocritical going against what he said, which sadly ruins it a little bit. The characters themselves technically act like how they're supposed to, even when they're merged with real people's personalities. The overall build-up is fine, I gotta give you that. There are things about the story that work, and I think it could have turned out great with a bit more time in the oven. But just the sand, the needless sand, and the absolutely frustrating final act killed the tension for me. And for that reason, I'm going to be giving this story a 4.5 out of 10. With that being said, this is simply my personal opinion. We all have our opinions regarding these pastas. What did you think of the pasta? What would you have done to improve upon it? And as always, I will see you all in the next narration. I love you all. Bless.